Our camera pulls in on the exterior of a restaurant, and we see Anames standing out front waiting for somebody. What is this restaurant, and what does Anames look like right now?
She's definitely looking more tired than usual. A little twitchy, but trying to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
She's dressed nice, though. For once, she doesn't have, paint or dust all over her from sculpting and art stuff.
It's been maybe 2 weeks since the last time we saw her, and a lot has changed in the galaxy since then. I would guess that her tiredness would be from maybe trying to look over her shoulder all the time, never really knowing what is going to happen next for her.
Yes.
Does that seem right?
Yes. She's wearing a very nice dress, but you also see there's a nice matching belt, and she does seem to have like a little defensive baton and what look like they might be whatever the Star Wars equivalent of pepper spray is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very decorative, though. I mean,
Yeah.
These are not just went out to the store and bought them. These are nice.
Yeah. Handmade. What restaurant is she standing out front of?
I would say Noodles 3 times, but that's not... She's definitely dressed too classy for that.
Yeah.
Actually, I think this is probably somewhere... probably close to the Golden Gundark. So, very upscale.
Yeah. Downtown. This was pretty much the first place they cleaned up after the Battle of Coruscant. There are still droid parts on Dak Avenue, but up here it looks like nothing ever happened. There are neon lights and bright signs lighting up the road that's a little bit wet with some rain from earlier in the evening. Tons of people walking about, and every once in a while a patrol of stormtroopers, clone troopers, walks down the road. And Anami sees the person that she is meeting. Who are they, and how did she meet them?
Androgynous, good bit of height difference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't think they're a full 6 foot tall, but definitely significantly taller. Maybe like a 5'9"
Okay. They're slim, wearing a nice suit as you see them walking down the wet sidewalk.
She recognizes them, smiles and waves.
They nod back and wave. This is the second time you've met up with this person. The first one went pretty well.
Oh, I've been busy in the last 2 weeks.
It's been a couple weeks.
She steps forward and just kind of falls into step with them and says, I got us a reservation.
Oh, fancy.
I figured that way it would be easier. We wouldn't have to wait around.
Well, that's great. Should we go in?
Yes.
All right. Lead the way.
She leads the way inside, goes up to the host on duty. Says, a table for Sadine.
The host nods. They are an Aqualish, and they lead you back to a quiet corner. The restaurant has these hanging fancy light fixtures and tablecloths on the tables. There's it's Star Wars, so there's obviously live music. Often a distant corner, Annalena singing, crooning some old song. The table that they lead you to is almost like a booth. It's a little bit set back from the other ones, and they set it and put some menus down and let you know that your server will be right with you. Do you have an idea for a name for this person?
I do not. What I do know is Anames, I think, has a piece of flimsy of some kind on her. Or maybe just a data pad, and she pulls it out and starts doodling.
Yeah.
Looking at her date, off and on.
Sketching them?
Yep.
You know them as blue, like the color. So, what have you been up to?
Well, things have been really different the last couple weeks, and so I guess work's been slow. Had a couple personal projects. What about you?
Oh, just normal stuff. Yeah, I mean, business has been kind of slow at Future Forward for the past little bit. I think the whole Empire thing's, it's just big change. People are hesitant to do business.
I can't entirely blame them. It's no one quite knows what's about to happen. It's hard to know what to expect now.
They sort of incline their head towards what you're drawing. You draw anything cool lately?
Well, she pulls the baton off her belt and lays it on the table. As I said, a couple personal projects. Just with all the changes, didn't really feel safe just walking around, so, yeah.
Can I see it?
Sure.
Can I hold out a hand?
She hands it over.
You made this?
She smiles a little bit and nods.
I didn't know you did woodworking, too.
I mean, sculpture, it's not that different. You're still shaping the materials and convincing them to do what you want.
It's pretty cool. Do you know how to use it? They hand it back to you.
She nods. I haven't needed to in a while, but yes, I learned as a child.
Cool. The waiter approaches. They hand out menus and put silverware on the table, pouring out a couple glasses of water, and say, coming up with all the names. What is the name of this place?
Like, I can visualize the kind of place I'm thinking of, but I can't. Words are escaping me.
Well, why don't you tell me what you're visualizing while I come up with a name for the place?
I'm thinking, kind of one of those upper class, not a steakhouse because it's too fancy for, your normal steakhouse, but they would have a lot of the upper class version of that sort of a thing. Your average steakhouse might be like a $20 steak, and this would be like $30 to $40 for the same thing, but the cooking's a little more involved.
Yeah, so this is the sort of place where it's not going to be like the owner's name. It's going to be like a single monosyllabic word.
Yes.
This place is called Verve.
I like it.
And your server says, "Welcome to Verve. I'll give you a chance to look over the menus. Did you have anything you wanted to drink?" They seem nervous.
She smiles at the server and says, "Are there any Alderani wines in stock?"
The lavender Gungan smiles back at you. I'll check. I think we do.
Anames nods and opens her menu.
Blue says, "Yeah, I'll have what she's having, a bottle for the table." And the Gungan nods and says, "Oh, okay, I'll bring that right out." Just, yeah. Runs away. The guy seemed nervous.
She nods. More than I would have expected him to for a place like this. Maybe he's new?
Yeah, maybe. Can I have a roll from Anames?
Sure.
What are your social skills looking like these days?
See, my charm is okay.
How's your deception?
2 green.
Alright. We're gonna do a deception check. You knew that server.
Oh, I have a feeling I might know who that server is now.
A mystery. It's gonna be against 1 red. You currently have 1 light side point if you'd like to use it.
I'll try it as is for now.
Okay. And don't forget you also have a reroll.
Yes. So it's gonna be green, red.
Do you have any reasons you might have a boost?
Yes, I think I do. On account of cultural adopters. Actually, no, that's not a boost. That's an automatic advantage.
Oh, okay.
2 results of social skill checks with non-Thalothians.
Wow, okay, great. So an automatic advantage.
Yes.
2 6. My blank red die. That's
I mean,
pretty
I'm
normal.
not complaining, but
No.
because that could have been nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All right, so 2 successes and 3 advantages. Blue doesn't really notice anything when you say when you're talking about this server. Do you have an idea for your 3 advantages?
I do not right now.
Okay.
Probably gonna hold them for till something a little more happens.
So what are you doing later? thought we might go for a walk.
She tilts her head to the side and thinks for a minute. No, that sounds good. I don't actually have plans tonight.
Okay. I thought we could go down near Sunrider Stadium, the little park down there.
Oh, that actually sounds lovely. Don't they have a area that they kind of project what the night sky would look like if we didn't have all the lights of Coruscant?
Yeah, they project it right on the sky. It's nice.
Have you ever been off of Coruscant?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I actually wasn't born here.
Where were you born?
Chandrilla.
Oh, I've never been, but I've heard it's very beautiful.
That's what I hear too. I was pretty young when we came here, though, so I don't really remember it. What about you?
I've been off the planet a couple times. Didn't happen much. Studying a lot, but went to the Outer Rim briefly.
Okay. Anywhere I would have heard of?
We stopped by Eriadu. It wasn't the only spot, but I think that's the only one where most people would have heard of it.
All right. I hear they like hunting there. I don't know much else about it.
It was. I mean, we were mostly just stopping briefly to refuel, but.
Okay. So you grew up on Coruscant then?
Yes. Sorry. The last 2 weeks have been difficult.
It's okay.
I promise I'm not normally this distracted.
It's all right. I mean, we don't have to stay here if you don't want. I know you got the reservation, but there's a noodle cart down a couple levels. It's on the way to the park. We could just stop there if you want.
Seems a shame to. It feels almost wrong to leave without at least buying something, especially after ordering the wine.
As you say the wine, the Gungan comes back out with a cloth over his arm and the wine, this bottle of wine and a couple of glasses in his left hand, and puts them on the table and begins to pour them. Alderanian wine, aged 12 years. I hear it's great. Did you want to try some?
Yes, please. Just a little.
Pours a small glass and hands it over to you.
She tastes it. I think this is probably picturing like a red wine.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's not quite fruity, but it's not quite dry either. It's like that nice in between. There's a bit of a bite without it being overpowering.
Yeah, great. He pours 2 glasses and leaves the bottle. Have you two had a chance to look at the menu yet?
Yes. I was wondering if you had any Dragak steaks?
Yes. And Blue says, I'll have the Kolo clawfish.
I'll take a Dragak steak, medium.
Okay. I'm gonna have to write this down. Anything else for the two of you? I think we're good. Okay. And the Gungan leaves. That guy is really awkward.
You would be surprised. Some of the people I've met with work, you would think they would be very suave, and some of them are anything but.
We have a screen wipe. Mir has just finished up his day of work. Is heading back to Dak Avenue, dodging debris and bits and pieces of buildings and droids. What does a typical day look like for Mir at this point?
A typical day for Mir usually begins with putting on a pot of hot calf for his roommate to get him going. His roommate is a big, white, hairy, tall, fit, trying to be a doctor, and we both work at Panas, and so his roomie, works a couple of jobs, so he makes sure he's taken care of the best he can. They live in this weird behind a noodle apartment behind a noodle shop down on Dak Ave. Mir's day is usually he throws on some music as he leaves and rolls up to the upper levels to go work at the pool. He works up at Pana's pool, skimming it and diving down and collecting gnarly things out. And I think he's got a
And
collection.
putting gnarly things in.
And putting more gnarly things in. I think he's got a collection down below of weird things that he's found in the broiler room. That's usually what his day consists of. After that, he'd go and once he's off shift, I think he travels around quite a bit, getting the lay of the land, lay of Coruscant, finding back roads and feeding stray tukas. And I think he keeps his ear, so to speak, to the ground when it comes to names of people of his past. He skims what he can, or he saves what he can to hopefully book passage or find a way to get his old friend's ship out of Mitch and Sons, out of the impound lot.
But his R3 batteries are running low at the moment, and he has to head back to his apartment to charge them up. As he gets to this small space behind the noodle shop and goes in, takes the lift up. What do we see? What is Mir looking like these days? The last time we saw him, he was looking very much like he is now. But before that, we saw him as just a shard, or as a shard in a anthropomorphic body, 2 arms, 2 legs. What is the chassis looking like these days?
The chassis is looking more... He's trying to get back to that old body that he used to have. As funny how the older we get, the more we try to get that old body back. He's got his R3 unit now. And now he's added a couple of arms to it so that he can manipulate things better. He's got the translucent dome, and it's a couple of like pit droid arms. They don't really fit well, but it's what he could scrounge about in all this without getting too many weird looks.
He gets some weird looks.
He gets plenty of weird looks. But yeah, he's an R3 unit that likes to roll around, and he's got a couple of modified arms on him so that he can grab and his pool skimmer and bat those big giant pool balls out of the way.
He used to be a bright red shiny droid. What sort of colors is he now?
He's more dirty white with little red highlights. Being our unit, he's got the little hatches that tend to be off color, and on those off colors, those will be the dirty red. He doesn't want to invest too much in this body, knowing that one day he'll upgrade back up to that nice hot rod body that he had a long time ago.
It's early evening, between classes and work for your roommate, and as you get into your small apartment, you hear the snores of towels coming from the adjacent room. This place is smallish. There's really just the one big room in the center, bedroom off to the side, refresher, and food prep area.
Yeah, I imagine that with all the damage that's happened, that's all makeshift food prepped area, and we've been trying to make our own noodles on the side to see if we can break into the noodle scene. And I think they're drying in the shower in a refresher to trying to just make up room for it, but I don't think it's going to pass the health inspection.
I just had this image that Tals, these big furry white hairy guys, take dust baths like chinchillas. I don't know if that's true.
It would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Towels are just big chinchillas.
Yep.
Writing it down, making a note.
Yeah, we should probably pass that on to our Tals friend. Mir heads to his charging port, plugs in, and shuts down the droid portion of himself. What's left active is this crystalline person on the inside that clear dome. And I think our camera would pan into the clear dome and pass through and see the real Mir inside.
Yeah, the real Mir is a 6 to 9 inch crystal, maroon colored with wisp of like green electricity going through it, pulsing.
When he's charging his droid chassis, what does the rest of him do? I don't imagine a shard has to sleep
in the past, he made himself used a training droid similar to what Luke used in A New Hope for training. He modified that to allow himself mobility and float around. Since then, he doesn't have that adapter yet. Before he charges, he likes to pop that dome open so that he could float himself out and go about his business using the Force gently to maneuver himself around.
Let's get a roll.
Force die?
Yep, and you have Force rating 2, so get to roll twice. Or 2 dice.
That's 3 dark side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As Mir reaches out to move himself, well, first, does he do it? It would be easy to do it. It's just reaching out and touching the Force. And
on these lonesome evenings when there's nobody else, I think he sits in his chassis stewing over the fact of the things that he's lost. He starts obsessing over his past of what he could have changed, where things went wrong, things that he got focused on, opposed to the people he maybe should have spent more time focusing on. And he'll reach down and use that obsession to give him mobilities so that he could work on the things of his past that he probably shouldn't be dwelling on, but he can't help himself from dwelling on.
Time is weird for a shard, being that doesn't necessarily age or grow unless they're in with their original cluster, or sleep, or eat, or have those markers for time at all when they're stuck underground for however long they were stuck underground. A lot of time to think about what could be. And as Mir floats himself to his workbench and begins to, I would assume, move some tools around to work on whatever project is next, he feels something in the Force. Remind me what the Force is like to Mir.
It's been a while since we explored that, hasn't it?
It has been a while.
I think it was a lot of vibrations. I think it was I think it was the electrical, almost like his green electricity in himself pulls him towards what he wants and will attach itself to the inputs that he's looking for.
As he begins to work in his workspace, he puts himself into that work and begins moving bits and pieces around, making connections and filling cracks in old droid bits and making new things. He feels in the Force what he could only describe as a scream.
Is it a scream in distress, or is it a scream of anger? Is it of fear? What's the emotion?
It's distress and fear. It's large and loud, and it only lasts an instant.
Can he pinpoint or figure out what direction it came from?
It came from below, somewhere below.
Well, since he is all about being curious and he gets obsessive, I think that is enough for him to hop in his partially charged droid body and go check it out.
So Mir moves into his R3 chassis, closing the dome over him. What would he do? Where would he go?
I think underneath in one of the nooks and crannies by the front door, he's got a piece of flimsy that he pulls aside, and he has a little holdout blaster in there for security, more for his roommate's sake, than anything else. But he grabs that and puts it in his clunky body. Note also, one of the things he needs to work on is reformulating Sparky Juice. Yeah, he will roll out once he has that in his body.
So Mir grabs that holdout blaster, puts it in a compartment in his chassis, and leaves the sounds of snoring towels behind him. As he goes out, that scream, that yell, that moment of pain in the Force is over. It's gone. But in its place, there is a void that he can sort of feel somewhere below him. It's like something is missing now. Something that should be there is not there.
I think he's mapped out plenty of the old walkways and has the ability to get down below relatively fast. Still working on, rocket boots, but those are a ways off. Looking for a good fuel source.
He knows that right behind that noodle place there is a way down into like a nice shortcut down in the sewers, but he doesn't have the bits installed yet to make his way down a ladder. So he begins his journey downwards, taking pathways and lifts. And let's see, we should probably do a roll. What kind of roll do you think you want to do? I would say streetwise, but you don't have any. You're not very good at streetwise.
That never stopped him. You could do a computer's check to find the fastest route down, or you could do streetwise. I'm fine with streetwise. Oh, that's only 2 green. What does this guy do? I forget.
What does this guy do?
What does he do?
Whatever you're feeling, you aren't 100% positive about what it is. How would you find your way to it? How would you try to discover exactly where you're going and what you're looking for?
Well, he's imbued an item before that helped figure out where things are, making connections between Force users and Force users.
Mm-hmm.
He does not have an old Kyber crystal to do that with here, but he does have himself. And so remembering back on how that felt and how that worked, I wonder if he could make a discipline check to remember back that far and make the connections between the Force then and the Force now and how they connect.
Yeah, roll a discipline and add your Force rating.
Versus
3 purples.
3 purples.
Yeah.
The dark side is, I'm going to have to change Force die. That's 3 dark.
Yep.
That is 1 failure, 1 threat, and 3 dark.
1 failure, 1 threat, and 3 dark. Ever since last night, the darkness has been easier to find. The answer is in front of you. You could find it right now. You could have it. You could know exactly what's going on if you want to use all 3.
All 3
of those dark side points. Yep. Well, I mean, you have 1 failure total.
Yeah.
So you could use 2 and have a threat, or you could use 3 and be free and clear.
Mir's in a mood. Mir's in a mood that he's stuck in this place, brooding, and he's sick and tired of people hurting around him, and I think he's getting tired of things not going his way. Things have been downhill for decades, it seems like. Whatever decades are for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he'll tap into those.
As he reaches out trying to figure out what's going on and where to go, he gets a flash. I'm using your 4C for you.
Mm-hmm.
He gets a flash of a place that he recognizes below the surface in one of the small bits of nature left on this planet. The glowing greens and oranges and the darkness all around them, and the little things flitting about in the darkness are red instead of white, like they were the last time you saw them, the last time he was down there all those years ago. And his vision changes, and he sees that cluster that he saw years ago, that he interacted with, that he hid from people who meant to do it harm. And he sees that after all these years, these decades that he's been away, been underground, somebody has found the cluster.
I should have hit it better. Mir thinks to himself.
He sees people in dark cloaks, a group of them, and they have tools, and these tools now look more like weapons than tools as they take pieces of the cluster away, carving it up like some carcass, some meat that these people seem to like so much.
That is not their place. That is not their home. That is not their people. Last time people came and took what wasn't theirs, we ended up with a Danto. This can't stand.
What is Mir going to do?
So before me, there are how many? Several?
This was
this was the vision. This was the vision.
Yeah. And then those flashes subside and you see the city around you, the dark sky, the darkening sky above, and you're stopped in the middle of a walkway as people walk to your left and right and look at you like you're in the way.
Hey, get out of the way, George!
The oppressive sounds of traffic and shouting and the city are all around you.
Oh, man. Mir punches the car right in front of him, denting a bumper the best he could with his little arm, and throws his arm up and say, "Hey, I'm walking here," and moves on, knowing that he's got to save his strength for whoever this is that is destroying that last piece of nature down below, this last little bit of decency in this entire planet.
As Mir tries to retrace his steps to this place in between places, there's a screen wipe. Thanks for listening to this episode of Coruscant Nights. Thank you to AJ and Rill for playing. You can find AJ's art on Instagram at AJ_Kimball. And you can find all of us on the Nightcast Discord, a friendly community of Star Wars fans and gamers.
Mechanical Corners RPG.
Mechanical Corners RPG.
Mechanical Corners RPG.
You heard us right. It's me, Morgul.
And me, Dem.
And we're breaking the fourth wall to talk about a new Kickstarter project by Mark, the guy behind Nightcast Creative.
That's right.
Do you like mysteries?
I do.
Do you like crime?
How do you think we've been staying in business so long?
Do you love RPGs?
I listen to the show, don't I?
Well, then you'll love the Mechanical Corners RPG.
Tell me more.
The Mechanical Corners RPG is all about the heist. Roll the dice and collect cards when your thief is helpful. If you've got the most at the end of the session, you get to narrate how you got away with the loot while leaving everyone else in your dust.
Steal diamonds as a loaf of bread.
Forge a painting as a robot hamster.
Make your getaway as a swarm of hummingbirds sharing a bird feeder as your core.
The sky's the limit.
That sounds too good to be true.
But wait, there's more.
Mechanical Corners hits Kickstarter February 4th.
February 4th.
February 4th.
Come help us bring this project to life.
Look for a link in the show notes.
Mechanical Corners RPG.
Mechanical Corners RPG.
Mechanical Corners RPG.
Coruscant Nights is a production of Nightcast Creative. For more about us and the things that we make, visit nightcastcreative.com.